Hey all, Binks here, and welcome to Bynx Bants, the weekly show where we talk about everything Marvel Snap, starting, of course, with our featured section. Let me hop on my soapbox real quick. I have a platform here. I have a lot of things to say about Marvel Snap. We're going to be doing a review of the season that we just had and a preview of the upcoming season, so a lot to get to. So I just want to take some time to rant. I went through every card in the game and just pulled out a bunch that I had random little thoughts about that I wanted to bring up and talk to you about. Let's start with Quake. Quake, I think, is so interesting. And the reason I wanted to bring this card up is because it creates some of the most toxic losses I've ever had, where like bar with no name gets flipped somewhere, or just the most devastating change of a location to change who wins a location to completely flip a game. And I've never been mad about this card a single time. There's something like so weird that even though this card causes some of the worst, most toxic loss I've ever had, I'll just always love you. I think that anyone who puts you in your deck is a crazy, crazy person, and good for them for getting good play. Interesting card. Next up, we have M'Baku. I just had a random thought about what would make M'Baku a lot better. Uh, for a few different reasons. One of which would be when you get a random deck with M'Baku, like with Erisham or something like that, or if you like Loki a deck and get M'Baku, or if you're just like me and you always forget that he's still in your deck. What if on turn 6 or whatever the final turn of the game is, like how M'Baku pops out and he's like, oh, no room for M'Baku. He just like pops out and like has a little voice line like ready to strike or something like that to remind you that M'Baku's coming, because there is not a single time I choose to put this card in my deck and I remember he's there at the end. Just help out some people like me, who want to get the full value of M'Baku but just forget about him all the time. Next up, we have Killmonger. The only thing I wanted to say about this card is like, boy, no one respects this card anymore. Is it crazy? The only deck that like ever plays this card is Destroy. This card used to be just a tech card to fight against so many different things. It's still the same cost. It still does the same thing, but like one costs don't really stick around on the board to the point where they matter nearly as much anymore. I just found it weird. I was like looking at this card. I'm like, man, we used to have to think about and respect this card at all times against numerous different decks. Now it's just if you're playing Destroy. So maybe if you're a little crazy person out there and you want to just throw Killmonger in decks, it'll work. I did run him in like the Surfer deck that I ran with Shang, and it felt amazing. So maybe just every Surfer deck should have Killmonger, and they're just like forgetting that they can. I don't know. Put this card in your deck more. I think it's. Why don't we respect? I don't know. I don't get it. Colossus. Shout out to Colossus. This card sees no play. It's bad, but it has a really cool ongoing that does so many things. It's like one of the most complicated and most protection against things that any ongoing has, and the card just still sucks. I still think this card should be like a 5/10. I think a 5/10 of this card is really interesting. I don't think it's very cool as a 2/4. It's like a small card. I think it should be a big card. But there was like a situation one time where I played Colossus and it stopped danger from killing it. It stopped a location from moving it away, and it stopped the other thing. It stopped itself from being able to get hit by like Lasher all in the same turn. It's just interesting. This card does so many things, but it still sucks. So shout out to you, Colossus. I hope they do you right at some point. Next up, we have Beast. The thing I wanted to say about this is just I want you next time you play against or play Beast to just appreciate its animation. I always say tactical backflip. Alex Newell, shout out to you. Someone in my chat one time, like Beast just came out and did nothing and did a backflip and he's like tactical backflip. So now I think about that every time. He just has a cool little backflip animations, and I hope that you appreciate it next time you play Beast. Next up, we have Nebula. Is this card always been underrated? And if not, why isn't this card good? Like I feel like I've been like a little bit crazy because I feel like this card should be good. I wonder if they made it like an end of turn. Your opponent doesn't play a card here plus 2 power to give it end of turn synergies would help it out, because I mean it doesn't really matter that it happens at the beginning of the turn or the end. I guess for like Shadow King reasons it's important. But I don't know what they have to do to this card to make it good. Like this card seems on paper like such a crazy card. I still like using it. Anytime I kind of need a one drop, I just throw Nebula in. I think it's always good. So I don't know. Tell me in the comments. Do you think this card's underrated? Do you think that they need to change it to make it better? Or do you think we just don't play it because people don't play one drops anymore, even though they don't respect Killmonger, I guess? I don't know. I don't know. Oh, this is embarrassing. I put a blank slide here. Okay, I'll probably just edit this out in post. My bad. Mobius. I hate you. I hate you, Mobius. I hate your smug face. I hate that you make every interesting cost reduction card catch strays every time you're in the meta. I don't like it when you hit the board. You've retroactively made me hate Owen Wilson, and that's not cool. He seems like a genuinely like cool dude. I loved you when I saw you in the first season of Loki. I thought you were a great character, and now I hate you every time I see your face. It gets me angry, and I don't like you, and I don't respect you, and no one else should. Man thing, why isn't this card good? This card's crazy. It's a 4/7 that can make like 3 of your opponent's card in the lane get -2 power. Like, is this card just worse than Laufey most of the time so people don't ever use it? Why is this card not good? I feel like there was times when I've like thought about like in a ramp deck just throwing a card like this in here where you don't have too many 2 and 3 drops, but it's like getting cut from a flick decks. I don't understand. Why isn't this card good? Is it Zabu? Were all these 4 drops propped up by the fact that Zabu was so good for so long, and now that Zabu's gone, we're realizing that 4 is expensive and it needs to be more game breaking than, you know, a 4/15 that this card can be a lot of the times? I don't know. Why isn't this card good? Why? What do they have to do to make a flick better? I don't know. I can't. This card in a vacuum is a crazy card, so I just don't get it. I don't know. I don't get it. Gladiator. If you play Gladiator, stop playing him on Comertage. I want to understand mill players, and I just don't get it. The only reason you should ever play Gladiator on Comertage is if you have Death in your deck. You have Death in your deck and you play it on Comertage, I don't mind. But when you're playing Gladiator on Comertage, not only like his on reveal is a downside, and I have to say this so many times because why would you play a downside on reveal? Like you there's no reason you play Red Skull on Onslaught Citadel. That'd be silly. And yet you play Gladiator on Comertage. I don't understand you. I don't understand you. Explain to me why you do this. You have Death in your deck, I get it. You're trying to get some more destruction triggers. Maybe you're trying to hit a key part with Death. If you don't, milling doesn't do anything in Marvel Snap. Never has, never will. And also, it just gives you 2 rolls to fail this and then be a negative power play. Because if you ever fail this, your opponent's getting a card that's bigger than it. And if you get any on reveals that your opponent has on Comertage, they get them twice. Stop playing this card on Comertage. If you are in your mind like, what is he talking about at first? Why wouldn't I play this on Comertage? Just change the way you think about the game. You'll be way better. Don't play this card on Comertage. I don't understand it. It's something that happens every time. Every time Comertage is down, the Gladiator player chooses to play it on Comertage, and I don't understand it. I don't understand you. Maybe explain it in the comments. I don't know. Blink. I just want to say this is the best design card in the game. I'll probably do card designs that I love. I already did card designs that I hate. I just passed this card. I'm like, man, what a perfectly made card. This is what a good 5-drop should be. It's good. It has good power. It can affect another lane. It not only rewards good deck building, but it builds good habits with checking your deck for what things can actually pop out and what can happen. Really, really well designed card. Strong. Never feels too terrible to play against. Maybe you're starting to hate it right now because Ramp is so popular, but man, shout out to Blink. What a beautifully well designed card. Another well designed card, and I just want to shout out this card's like a superstar that people don't give enough credit. The whole ongoing archetype would be gone if Goliath didn't exist. This card is crazy. It's the linchpin to all ongoing decks. I use it. I'm pretty much like using it in all of my Spectrum or not Spectrum, like my Moonstone, Moon Girl, Bastion stuff. I just use it in there because it's really, really good. This card's crazy, really well designed. This card saved a whole archetype of Snap, and no one talks about it, which is crazy. Shout out to Goliath, you rule. Toxie. Couple funny things I wanted to point out about this card. First of all, this card was released as a 2/1. That's awesome. They released this card as a 2/1, and that was the funniest thing I've ever seen. That card was like jokingly bad. Then they gave it 2 extra power on a 2-drop, and it continued to see 0 play. And the other funny thing I had to say, it's very, very funny that the card that makes the cards in your hand smelly makes your deck smelly when you put it in. That was just my little joke for that. This card sucks. It's a silly card. It's very funny. Okay, Silver Surfer First Steps. Why do you play this? If you're someone who plays this card, why do you play it? I don't understand. I think that this card is almost always worse Prodigy. Every time we get in arguments about this card because I say the card is bad, I look at the stats and the stats are already bad. I looked at the stats before today. it has 2% play rate, but like a under 50% win rate, and I think negative cube rate. I just don't get it. I don't think this card is good. I think that it's like a weird win more card. People forget that this card fails sometimes and does nothing. I feel like people are just like, yeah, but it's good when it does something really crazy and powerful, but it very often doesn't do that. I don't know. Tell me down in the comments below why you think that I'm wrong about this card being bad, but I've never understood why people like play this card so much when all the stats always say it's bad. From my perspective, it just seems like a bad, worse prodigy. I don't know. You tell me. You tell me. Shout out to Omega Sentinel. So there's been a lot more with Shu Lao focused on like the Maverick and Scarlet Spider as far as activates go with Jocasta. But this card is awesome. It has one of the coolest animations of the whole game. It promotes some really interesting maths that happen when there's like multiple triggers of it on how they'll like cascade down and hit multiple things. And it was also a really cool card that got released and kind of never didn't have any place because once Jocasta came out, it really like opened up what it can do. I just think it's a really, really cool, really well designed card. It's simple, but they, absolutely killed it with the animation. And I think that it really led to that activate archetype being a lot more interesting. And now I feel like now that it's went to like Shu Lao and just mass power onto a couple of things, now it's less interesting. So shout out to Omega Sentinel. I hope that you get more play soon. Weird rant about Zombie Galacti. First of all, Zombie Galacti is a lot better than I gave it credit for, and I think I kind of held on to saying it was bad for a bit too long. I do think that this deck is pretty darn good once Maverick came along. Now that Maverick's 3-2, I don't know if maybe this card is a decent chunk worse or not. I'm not exactly sure. But one thing the devs got to do, they got to fix how the Zombie Galacti cards work. Because Nico will just never show that she's a Zombie Galacti card. And Prodigy will only show it right as it's played. Once it copies something, it gets rid of its little shroud for it. But every single Zombie Galacti deck runs Nico because it's just good in the deck. And I'm sick and tired of losing to like unfair amount of information that I'm supposed to have based on the card because you just have to guess whether or not Nico will transform. There's no information telling you that. So I think they just really need to fix it. This card, I don't really like super hyper frail combo decks like Zombie Galacti is too terribly much, which is why I never really play the card even when it got pretty good. But yeah, they really got to fix the interactions with it because it makes the card feel really, really bad to lose to. Next up, we have Deafening Chord. Just make this 2 cost. I don't think we should have a 1 cost. I don't know. Maybe I'm being annoying about it, but I just really don't think we should have a 1 cost tech card that can get rid of like the abilities of any 1, 2, or 3 cost card. I just don't think this card should exist as a one drop. I think that they have done really good things in slowly pushing the cost of a lot of the tech cards up and making them heavier and a higher cost to play. And I believe that has just in general been better for Marvel Snap. Like the lowering of the power of tech cards and making them more of a investment to be able to play them, I think has been a really, really good decision and change that they've made with balancing. And then Deafening Chord came out. It's just a 1 cost that just circumvents all that. Then any deck that just wants a tech card, just take the 1 cost one that hits a bunch of stuff. Make this card cost 2. I really think that it's just too easy to play out and it works too well with too many strong decks. Just make this card cost 2, man. Next up we have Warpath. Fix this card. This card saw the light of day one time 3.5 years ago in a Destroyer Professor X deck at the end of beta, and has seen no play since, and has been terrible ever since. This card does not work in modern day Snap. This has been on my list as like the #1 card they need to adjust for a very long time. Just adjust this card. This card's trash and it's built like really poorly, and I hate it. Storm, get rid of power back. I think I can speak for everyone. Cerebro 2, you already took Lin the A back from him. Cerebro 2 has been catching strays for its entirety of its life. Just give Storm back her power. The War Machine Legion stuff isn't nearly as bad anymore. You have to do like weird ramp stuff to actually make it work. Just give Storm back her power, man. Just give her back her power. Just do it. It's fine. It'll be chill. And I hope that they do that because I think that it is better for the game when Storm is at least playable. This caught a stray and now it's just kind of sitting there. I like Storm. I think it's an interesting card. I think it promotes interesting play patterns. Give it its power back. And the last one that we have here is just Cersei. And this is just a message to you who's watching. Just if you have this card and you never play it, just play some Cersei. I feel like Cersei is one of those cards that gives you some kind of childlike joy with playing Snap, where you just play Cersei and random stuff happens and whoever knows. I've had some great clips over the years of playing Cersei and having just the most crazy degenerate stuff happening that ends you winning games. If you're frustrated with Marvel Snap ever, just put a random crazy Psycho Cersei deck together and have some fun. This card is really fun, still decently powerful, and it can actually do some pretty cool things in like a Nihilist Clog type stuff, but just try it. Just try her. If you've never tried Cersei, just try her. Just try her. That's all I'll say. Well, thank you so much for watching the featured section. This is a little bit short because we have a lot to get to here. So we ranted about some stuff. We're going to talk about the Year of the Dragon season review, and then we're going to jump to the Guardians Greatest Hits Volume 2 season preview. And we're going to talk about the Year of the Bynx update. At the beginning of the month, I talked to you about my goals for this year, and specifically there were some goals for January. And I think every month I just kind of want to touch on, what I'm doing for it, what I've seen that's doing positive and negative, just to keep that on my mind and keep talking about it. But let's talk about all of the cards from the Year of the Dragon. I quite liked the season. I thought there was a lot of good cards. I'm happy that they took the Nerf Hammer to Shu Lao pretty quickly. I'm also happy they didn't like completely destroy the card. I think that doing like the many little cuts on a bunch of its powerful options was good. And honestly, like the 6-power Shu Lao body, it's really good. I won tons and tons of games because that big two power chunk that wouldn't be there in the previous versions. I'm pretty happy with what they've done with it. I still think they probably should have released Shu Lao at where it's at now, because it might still be the best card in the game, or one of them. But yeah, they want to make the new cards exciting. It's a big scary dragon. They wanted to do something big. Understandable. I'm just happy at least they made some changes early on. But I'm already talking about Shu Lao, so let's just bring it up. Shu Lao is the 5 energy 8 power, which is now a 5 energy 6 power that says on reveal, give the last character you played +3 power for each turn you played 2 or more cards. Yeah, this card has been everywhere for the last month. It really dominated, especially the first half of the season. Once all the nerfs came in, to take 2 power off Shu Lao, to take the extra power off of Deafening Chord, take the power off of Maverick, really kind of pulled this back quite a bit, and now it feels a lot more reasonable to play against. Really, really cool design. I do like that it kind of encourages you to play multiple cards in a turn to generate more cards. I like the play pattern that it represents. And I don't know. I honestly don't really mind the +3 power. I think that a lot of people are like, oh, it still needs to go down to +3. I think we just there's 2 things I think that you could do. One thing is that this card has a bunch of unique ways that it gets around things for seemingly no reason. One of which I asked on the Discord, and I think it might actually be a bit of an oversight. I'm still trying to get more information on it. But one of the things is like why you can upgrade this card through Supergiant, because you play Supergiant, then you play 2 cards on the Supergiant turn. It still gives Shu Lao its activation, but like every other card that counts cards that you play during a Supergiant turn doesn't work, like Thena and Doom 2099. So I think that just might be an oversight. But also this card says give your last character you played +3 power, which means that you can like squeeze in turns where you play like 2 spells and you can still have the Shu Lao jump all the way back to the previous played card. I don't think there was any reason to give them this. I think that it should just say the last card. If you played a spell last and if it whiffs, I don't like that this card is already really strong, but also gives players like an extra way to circumvent it. That feels kind of bad. Other people have said instead of playing 2 or more cards, play 2 or more characters to discourage spells. But I think that's kind of the point of the card, is to make spells and stuff like that. So I'm not really sure about that. But maybe lessening some of those weird ways that Shu Lao gets over things that normally other cards don't. Like, why don't other cards have this give the last character you play that should only affect characters, but this card does? I don't really get it. So it kind of has all these like built-in like cheat codes into it as well. I don't know. I do like the design of the card. I think it's pretty cool. I think maybe they could bump another power off eventually, but I do think that the +3 power is fine and it's cool and exciting. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe eventually they will see that getting the +3 power is just a little bit too strong, but I still like maybe even just taking more power off of Shu Lao to make it so that you don't get a big impact on the lane that you play Shu Lao. It's only where you played it, but we'll see. Moving on to Majestic Wingbeat. This card I was really not sold on at first, but I've seen a lot of people using like Joaquin Phoenix text and stuff like that to really bump up things. It works really well with Zombie Galacti. A lot of people have been using it there. I don't know. I do like the song. Hear the wing beat beat to the majestic drum. I really hope you didn't give Shulao -1, cause he's already strong. It's a little tip for you if you don't watch my streams, because I say that every single time this card comes down. I do think it's cool. I think that it's a nice, a good one-cost spell. It has some utility. It rewards good deck building, rewards good management of your hand to move something over to the left. So I really, really like this card. I think that it's a lot better than I gave it credit for, and I look forward to playing it more in the future. Next up, we have Lockheed that says end of turn. If you played a one-cost card this turn, afflict an enemy card here with -2 power. Another card that I really overlooked when it was first released. And I really like this card. It feels like a just nice card that's going to land in... Maybe if Shu Lao gets taken down like another step, like this card in like a Bast Agent Venom style list seems like something that would be really interesting and fun to play. Lots of cool things coming out from Lockheed. Cool way to consistently get value from playing small things that you can scale, and it scales on the other side of the board, which has some interesting things, like maybe against things like Iron Man and stuff like that, or going after specific cards like Maverick or stuff that likes to have its power boosted up to lend it elsewhere. Really, really cool, really well-designed card, cool animation. Really like what they did with this. Moving on to Dragon of the Moon. So this card started as a 3-2, but got bumped up to a 3-4. So 2 cost power increase. I do think this card is actually pretty darn good at 3-4. People are really liking it in like some Afflict style shells right now. People are liking it in like Ronin with Master Mold style stuff. I just think like generally this card is pretty solid at 3-4. At 3-2 is abysmal, but at 3-4 it actually, like, you know, all you need to do is steal from 2 cards and you're already on rate. And then if you stole from 2 cards in your opponent's hand and they end up playing those, then you're ahead of rate. A really, really cool, interesting card. I'm excited to play a little bit more of the like Afflict style archetype with it. Maybe give it another chance now it's a 3-4. Because I think that it definitely has a lot more going for it now that it has better stats. Then we have Dragon Lord, the 5 energy, 5 power with the ability put a card from your hand here on reveal. One of the simplest cards they've released in a long time. Pretty much free for everyone as long as they played a little bit of the limited time mode earlier this month. And I think in general, people just love this card. And I really like it too. I think that it's a well set up card. I think 5/5 was the right stat line for them. Works really well with ramp, gives you some level of control over what you're doing if you can clear your hand out, but in general is just going to dump out a pretty big nasty card based on how you built your deck. And I don't think people are too upset of really ever losing from it. Sometimes it can feel a little bit too strong, but I love giving like a big kind of linchpin card to like a giant card archetype to everyone. I think that it really let a lot more people experience ramp. So very, very well done with Dragon Lord. Next up, we have Linlier Iron Fist. This card I didn't love at first. I didn't really know how to use the power super well. It's the 2 energy, 3 power with the on reveal. Add the Sword of Fuji to another location. Sword of Fuji is a 2/2 ongoing. Give Linlier Iron Fist +8 power if he's here. It used to be +7, now it's +8. They actually buff both Linlier and the sword to get a little bit stronger. I actually built a deck at the end of last week that was one of my highest performing decks in a super long time. I went 33-10 with it, and the card is just a beast when you can copy it. I think that a lot of people look at this card and it's like, oh, you want to move the cards together, but I think that getting 2 Linliers and having them pass swords to each other is the best way to do it. You can play one Linlier out, you can copy with Frigga or Bastion or something like that, and then you can line up, and as long as you can push out enough cards to fill one of the lanes, you can play the Linlier into the lane where that sword landed and force throw the sword back to the other one, boosting both of them up. And if you get even more copies than that, you can get like multiple swords in a lane. You can up it with Moonstone. This card was really nice that they buffed it, and I think that this card rewards a lot of creativity in deck building and just a lot of skill expression with how to play it, when to copy it, when to go after other cards. Really, really well designed card. I love Linlier Iron Fist, and go and check out the video. I released it yesterday on the deck that I made with him because it's very, very strong. And then finally we have Fin Fang Foom, the biggest, baddest card they probably have ever released. The 7/12. 7 energy card, 12 power with the insane on reveal. Gain the power of front row enemy cards here. Another card that just made that ramp deck that kind of started with Chamber really get pushed over the top and become one of the best meta threats. Just a absolute behemoth of a card. I've had a lot of fun with this card playing it out with Wave. Had a lot of fun with this card, discarding it and resummoning it with Ghost Rider is an insane value play. I've done some really cool things. There's some cool combos with it and Firehair and like Kid Omega or Venom to pop this giant card and then have Firehair do the same thing and steal your opponent's front row power. Just a really, really strong, really unique card. I love that they took a big swing with this card to throw into the game because it's potentially game breaking. I think 7 energy was the right thing to do with it because you have to invest in either going to a magic lane, giving yourself extra energy, or discounting this card. Otherwise, you literally can't play it in a normal game of Marvel Snap. So really, really cool shot that they took. I love this card's inclusion. I think that it really messes with priority in cool ways, where if you like don't have priority, you know they could play a big card, and then you could steal the whole big card with Fin Fang Foom if they're not playing too many cards. Just really, really well-designed card. Really, really fun to play. Love Fin Fang Foom. I guess that wasn't last because we still have a Shang-Chi, the Master of the Rings. This is the 3 energy 5 power card that says game start. The 10 rings start in your hand. On reveal, unlock their potential. We have the 10 rings here that you get on turn. You get this at the beginning of the game, much like Quicksilver. It takes up one of your draws at the beginning of the game. And you get a 2/1 that gives one of your other cards +1 power. That could be pretty nice if you have like Clea down is a nice card to have with this. But then if you unlock it, not only does it get an additional power, but it changes to saying end of turn, give your other cards here +1 power. Lots of really cool synergies with things like Sebastian Shaw and Clea, like I mentioned previously, and just anything else that wants to get buffed up. Captain Carter is a great thing to get buffed up by this. The biggest problem with this card, and I made a short about it, and I made a bunch of things about it, is that the math says that this card is bad. This card destroys your deck consistency. It brings the odds that you're going to draw any of the 12 cards that you've added into your deck from 75% to 67%, which is a massive, massive change. It's 8.3% less likely for each of your individual cards to not get drawn. You basically just get access to one less card. This card basically says -1 draw. And anytime a card says -1 draw in a card game, that's really, really bad. So if you think about it as -1 draw, even though when you hit this card and it's good, and I think that this is going to be kind of a new player trap because I think people will play games with this card and get it out and then get Shang-Chi on curve and then everything looks great and the card feels super powerful. I even went on an 8-0 run with this card when it first dropped. But the consistency will be bad over the long enough period of games. Your power level of your deck is immensely shrunk by having -1 draw on this card. So I think that this card is dumpster tier. I think that this card is a trap card. It's a huge trap because when you play it, you will not notice the effects in a game-to-game format, but you will notice in the long term. So I really strongly believe that this is a bit of a trap card. I would avoid it like the plague. If you got your hands on it, it can still be fun. You can still get some value out of it if you don't need to draw any card, like a Surfer deck that can win without Surfer because all the other cards can do powerful things can see some use from this card. But I think in general, this card is going to trap a lot of players into playing it and thinking that it's improving their deck when it's actually not, because there's either specific cards they really want to draw on their deck, and even worse, when there's combinations of multiple cards that you really want to have to win. Do not run this card. The stats of getting like a single card are already bad. Getting 2 cards when the stats get dropped by a whole draw is way, way, way worse. So just be really, really smart when you play Shang-Chi. If you do have access to it, and make sure that there's no combinations of cards you really want or any specific card you like basically need to feel like you can win the game. And moving on, we're going to jump into the Guardians Greatest Hits Volume 2 preview. One thing historically for me is that I don't do this. I don't really look ahead to seasons. Usually when I'm setting up the Bynx Bants to talk about the card that's coming out tomorrow, that's like the first time I'm actually sitting down and thinking about the card. But I kind of want to change that a little bit. I want to dig in and do a little bit. So I think that for the one before the season, the Bynx Bants before the season, we're probably going to do this every time, doing a review of the season as a whole, as well as a preview of the upcoming season. Let's start with Star-Lord, Master of the Sun. This card is a 4 energy, 5 power card that says on reveal, next turn, you get +1 energy. For each turn you've ended the game, or you've ended with unspent energy, this gains that much power. Weird card. It's a very weird, very interesting card. I think that in general, the way that you're going to want to play this card is to play 0 energy worth of cards on 1, 1 energy worth of cards on 2, 2 energy worth of cards on 3, and then play this on 4. Because if you play it on 5 with nothing else, you actually don't get the benefit of that turn, because it says for each turn you've ended with unspent energy, and the turn isn't ended that he's there, you get to gain that much energy next turn and gain that much power. So if you play it on 5, you're kind of missing out on the turn 5. Maybe you could play it with a 1-drop on 5. But also, I think that this deck is going to go well in a deck that's like has like Warlock style stuff, She-Hulk style stuff, maybe even Infinite type stuff, to be able to push this out and to skip turn 5, get some extra energy on turn 5, maybe be able to play something on turn 5 while still floating 6, get a pretty powerful card, and then win out. This card's going to be interesting. It's going to, I think that this card is definitely made for like high Evo She-Hulk style decks. Maybe it's just kind of like a high Evo style card where you're just playing this on, turn 5 or turn 4 and just getting a little bit of extra juice, a little bit of extra energy to do things. I think at its core, it's a pretty solid card. Like if you skip once, you play it on 4, you're getting a 4/6, which is below rate. But then you're getting an extra energy next turn, and that's like not great. Then if you skip 2, then you get 4/7, which is pretty much on rate. Then you get 2 extra energy on turn 5, getting 7 energy then to do some combos. It's interesting. There's some flexibility you can have with this card. You don't have to like hit anything specifically, but I'm really interested to see what this card can actually do, and what decks it ends up in. I think that there is a bit of a 4-drop problem now that Zabu doesn't really exist, where 4-drops just aren't as good as they used to be. So I'm interested to see if this card can actually make a lot of waves. Maybe there's even some weird like, I don't know, maybe there's even some weird like Star-Lord into like Absman, or like Wong into Star-Lord stuff. I don't know. Really cool card, cool concept, and I'm excited to mess around with it. Next up, we have Moondragon, not to be confused with Dragon of the Moon, of course. Moondragon is the 2 energy, 2 power card that has the ability end of turn +2 power if you played 1 card this turn and spent all of your energy. This card's very exciting to me for a few reasons. First of all, I really like playing cards on curve. I've always loved that in Marvel Snap. Just playing a 2-drop on 2, playing a 3-drop on 3, maybe ramping up and playing a bigger card, but using all of my energy. I'm a very tempo-focused player when it comes to all card games. I hate sitting back and trying to play control. Always have in every card game I've ever played. So this card really encourages you to just play a card on curve every turn, and you get a pretty darn like solid benefit from it. If you play this on 2 and then you play 3-drop, 4-drop, 5-drop, 6-drop, by the end of the game, this is a 12 power card. That's a lot of. It's getting really strong. That's pretty crazy. And there's some cards that like are pretty good at doing this. So I think that there was this version of this deck that I kind of helped pioneer, and then it became pretty popular. I would just call it the curve deck. I essentially put 2 good 1-drops, 2 2s, all the way up to 5. And then for the 4-drops, you tend to focus on cards that are good to blink, because blinking on 5 would be really good to get you like a bigger card. So I think that a style of card, like a style of deck like that, could be really good with this, to just win off of value of singularly very powerful cards. Like, if you played Nebula on 1, then Moondragon on 2, then Speed, right? Then you played Jubilee, and then you blink that Jubilee, and then you played Doctor Doom. I don't know. There's a lot of points all across the board that you have to go against. Now, there's some unfair things going on in Snap right now, but this card is going to promote that style of on-curve, tempo-focused play that I absolutely love. And I tell you what, I am so excited to mess around with this card. And I think it's a card that a lot of people are going to overlook. Next up, we have Magnus. This card's weird, man. This card's real weird. 3 energy, 5 power. Activate, copy the text of a character in your deck with cost equal to your unspent energy without using its on reveal. This is weird, add a bit of text, but basically it means that if you hit an on reveal, you do copy the text, and you will then be that on reveal card, so you'd still get Odin. But you don't actually use the on reveal when it comes. The other thing that it can't take is it can't take another activate card. They mentioned this on the Discord. If you activate it and you take another activate card, because that card has already used its activate, it can't do it again. So really you're looking at end of turn cards and ongoing cards, or just cards that don't hit one of those specific things. And really where I think this card is going to see play is going to be some style of float all of your mana on 5 and then try and play like Infinite She-Hulk stuff on 6. Is my idea of what might happen with it, because I really think you want to get a good on reveal, and then maybe you just throw like Iron Man and let's say the Thing First Steps in your deck, and then you just know that usually one of those cards will still be on your deck on turn 5. You skip, you full pass, maybe boost up your Sunspot, maybe a Warlock down 2, and then you get a copy either a Thing First Steps or an Iron Man onto this. Is that going to be good? I don't know. Maybe it's a lot of things you have to add into a deck to make something happen that's like decently powerful. It'd be interesting to see. I'm not really sure. This is the thinker of a card though, because you really have to look at every card that's not an on reveal or an activate and see, is there a way that if you can force Magnus to get this, is it crazy? I don't know if that's the case, but I don't know. It'll be an interesting card to dig around with, and definitely gets me excited to try and make something broken happen with this pretty crazy effect. Moving on, we're going to Drax, the Avatar of Life. First off, what a glow up. What an absolute stud you look like. Usually you're just holding random little knives and you're just diving around. Now you look like an absolute legend. You look like an absolute legend with your cape flowing behind you and your sick outfit. That's just what I wanted to say to you, Drax, the Avatar of Life. But let's talk about what you do. You're a 3 energy, 4 power with the ability End of Turn, plus 3 power if your opponent played a card with greater power this turn. Move to that card if you'd be winning its location. Lot of text on this. But really, to me, this card just seems like it's just real good, man. It's just a real good card. It's extra part of it, the movement could be a downside or a good side. It depends on how you build your deck. I do fear that this card is going to cause some problems sometimes with like landing in the wrong location. But I mean, honestly, man, like if you play this on turn 3 and your opponent plays, Luna Snow or any 3-drop that's bigger than it, it's going to be a 3/7 right away. And then if on turn 4, 5, or 6 they play a card that's bigger than 7 power, I tell you what, man, it's going to move over there and it's going to be a 3/10. Those are big numbers. Those are some pretty scary and big numbers. Now, the big thing is that your opponent is going to have the agency of where they move the card. So maybe on like turn 5, you can move it to a location that is bad for you to move it to. But you only move if it would be winning the location. There's just so many things that have to happen. I feel like this card's going to be broken on release. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just feel like there's going to be some game-breaking bug with this card at some point. Probably like immediately though. But it's interesting. I think that this is like an on-rate, crazy 3-drop to slam. I think it's going to be really, really good. It might be a premier 3-drop moving forward. Great in like Aurora decks, like having another good just end of turn that's like powerful at all times. Pretty strong. So I think that this card is going to be a menace, and I don't know what the heck we're going to do about it. Major Victory, the 3 energy, 4 power with the ability on reveal, add 2 members of the Guardians crew to your hand. The Guardians crew is made up of the original 6 Guardian cards that they released into the game, which would be Mantis, Rocket Raccoon, Star-Lord, Groot, Drax, and Gamora. So this is going to give you 2 of the cards from that 6-card pool. And is that good? I'm not sure. If Devil Dinosaur was a relevant card, I think this would be a pretty banger card, because it's a 3/4 that adds 2 cards and it's relatively targeted what you're getting. And then you can usually always get use out of like Guardians cards, especially on like the later turns of the game, to just play them out and get a boosted amount of power for that cost if your opponent ends up playing there. But I don't know. I don't know how strong this card is going to be. It feels weird to figure out where this fits in. Like Devil Dinosaur comes to mind. Maybe like a Victoria hand deck would really like something like this. Just a 3/4 that adds like generally smaller cards. So you get 1/6 chance of getting a 5, then 1/6 for 4, 3, and 2, and then you can get 1s. And honestly, Mantis or Rocket Raccoon are pretty darn good cards to add to your hand for Victoria Hand. And then, even if you're getting the biggest ones, like Groot is kind of a miss, and Mantis is generally a miss. Drax isn't great either, but like, I don't know, when you get to like Star-Lord, it ends up being pretty good value. If you get to Gamora, it ends up being a pretty honking value. And then Rocket Raccoon is obviously really, really good value for what you can get from the card. It's interesting. They don't do too many like small card pools. Like you kind of have to compare this like Prowler, which probably just has like pure upside on this. But I don't know. It'll be interesting. It'll be a fun card to play. I'll probably play in some Devil Dinosaur, some Vic Hand. We'll see if we can make it do some cool things. Up next, we have Kraglin, the 3 energy, 3 power. It says, on reveal, banish the top card of your deck. Who's a 4 cost or higher, plus 2 energy next turn. Otherwise, give this plus 4 power. This card seems pretty strong, in my opinion. You're usually going to be playing this in a like high value deck where you are trying to play out big cards early, like a ramp style card. You're going to have multiple 4, 5, and 6 cost, or probably like Foom and stuff like that. So some bigger cards. So I feel like you're either going to be playing this to try and get the +2 energy and maybe have 6 energy without having to wave and give your opponent a potential 6 energy play on turn 4 as well. So like maybe like Galactus or something like that. This can be pretty cool one. Another thing to note, don't worry about banishing the top card of your deck. I think people look at that as a bad thing. It literally doesn't matter. Just pretend like you weren't going to draw that card. It's a hard thing to get over your mind in card games, but just really remember that banishing a card, like your opponent milling, your opponent Yonduing and banishing a card, none of that matters. You just pretend you weren't going to draw that card anyway. Now just the information is there and your deck is actually a bit more consistent, and you have higher percentages of drawing the cards left in your deck for the rest of the game. So it's kind of a good thing to banish the top card of your deck. And I know that sounds crazy, but you just have to trust me because it's true. So the cool thing about this card is that even when you miss, you still get a 3/7, which is like not bad stats for cost. I definitely don't think you would play this in a deck to try and just get its 3/7 to activate. So I think that the only reason you'd be playing this card in your deck is if you're trying to get 6 energy on turn 4. But I don't know. It's cool that it has a good downside. And if you whiff, you still get some extra power and maybe you can do something else. I don't know how strong it's going to be. Yeah, it's interesting. It's just like there's kind of cards that feel like they do what this card wants to do, but a little bit better already. But this card maybe has some better potential outside options. I think the biggest problem is that you're going to want to build a deck for getting the +2 energy. And then you're going to feel really bad when you miss it because then you probably don't have another way to ramp up. So I don't know. This card is probably, if it falls off anywhere, it's going to be because of its inconsistency. But I think it's a pretty well designed and good card. Jack Flag. Dude, this is really interesting. I've been talking about Jack Flag, and even when I watched the dev video on stream, I think I just misread the card, to be honest with you. The Jack Flag is a 3 energy, 3 power. With the ongoing, your cards here with increased power have +2 power. And I looked at that and I thought it said your other cards here with increased power have +2 power. I thought it said that. And if that was the case, I was looking at it, it's kind of like a Captain America, but instead of needing ongoings in the lane, it needs to have just other cards that already have increased power by some way. I also don't know how this ongoing is going to stack with other ongoings. Like if there's an ongoing ability that's giving a card power that's played after Jack Flag, would Jack Flag's check happen before or after that ongoing went off? I'm not exactly sure. I'm sure that I don't know. I guess I'm not sure that they've designed it in any way, but I would imagine that it probably retroactively works and bumps things up. But the fact that it can hit itself as well is very, very relevant because that makes this card have the top end of a 3/11. If it's in a full lane and let's just say you have blue Marvel down, right? And all the cards have plus power, this card's at 3/11. So I'm going to change. I was originally, when I was building this, I've seen a lot of people say Jack Flag is going to be the best card next season. I was going to be really contrarian and say I don't think the card's that good. I still don't think this will be the best card of the season, but it is much, much better than I gave it credit for, that it doesn't have the restriction that it's your other cards and it can buff itself. It's already getting a buff. I think that Jack Flag being a 3/11 in a lane is probably going to help Zoo. Probably going to help a lot of different things. Very, very powerful card. I think I was a little bit wrong. It also has some pretty cool synergy with this other card that we're going to see, Starhawk, which is 2 energy, 2 power with the on reveal. On odd turns, give your cards to the left location +1 power. On even turns, give it to the right location. This is a really cool card. I don't think this card is super powerful. At its top end, it's a 2/6 in pure power output. It is something where you have to be thinking about odd and even turns, like turns 3 and 5 are like the relevant turns, because you wouldn't really be playing this on 1 anyway. Probably won't be playing on 3 ever. So 3 and 5, where you're going to be putting them around the left location. 4 and 6, you want to put on the right location. You're probably going to be focusing on that 4 or 6 turn, because this seems like a card you want to play at the very end of the game. Maybe unless you're playing something like Clea, where you just want to kind of get it down and then buff it right away. But this card is going to be a very big skill expression type card. Really works out with all the same cards that work with the Shang-Chi, the unlocked rings, that just like getting increments of 1 power. So think Sebastian Shaw, think Clea. These little cards that can get little buffs of power and then make more use of them. And then any other card that likes getting buffed. Maybe this works in Surfer. I feel like Brood, if you play Brood in a location and then you just hit all 3 of them with +1 the next turn, not too bad of value, but usually you're going to want to be getting a little bit extra from it. But then, yeah, you can look at something like Jack Flag. If you have Jack Flag in a lane, you fill up the right lane. It all has a little bit extra power, and then you hit it with the Starhawk, and you hit all those cards with extra power. Then Jack Flag hits them. That can really compound together. I don't think this card will see play, but I'm interested to see what it looks like in some like cool Surfer style lists and stuff like that. And that's gonna be all for the Guardians review. I really like a lot of these cards. What card do I think is going to be the best? I think it might just be Drax Avatar of Life. I think Drax Avatar of Life, I do think Drac Flag is pretty darn good, way better than I gave it credit for. And I think Moondragon is going to be a lot better than people give it credit for. This might like really spawn that type of like curve style archetype. Like having like a 210 or 212 that you can pretty consistently give it that archetype is really changes the game for what you can do. And then this card I'm probably the most interested in. I'm not sure how strong it's going to be, and I'm not sure how focused you have with things. Like this and Magnus I'm really interested in, but I don't know how strong they're going to be. But I'd say my 3 best cards, I would say Drac Avatar of Life number 1, Jack Flag number 2, and then Moondragon is the surprise number 3 there. Let's talk about the goals that I'm going to be doing. I had to take an image of the original one because I'd gotten rid of the slide. So when it popped up on my side, my camera's covering it, but now I just have, I'm just looking at my face in the top left. So in 2026, I have a big focus on trying to, really make some big changes to the YouTube channel and the YouTube side of things, and really, I guess, refocus myself on being a content creator. And I set some pretty high goals for myself in January specifically. Let's get out 20 YouTube videos, 20 YouTube shorts, and 20 streams, and then do 4 T3 hangs, which is our tier 3 Twitch subs. I do a hangout with them. I've been doing it once a month. I did it once a week, and I might move it to a bit more consistent, like 2-3 times a month moving forward. But for these goals, I only put out 17 YouTube videos, which is a little bit disappointing. I put out 21 YouTube shorts, I believe, so I was on top of that. And I did 19 streams, so I ended up missing 1 because I ended up having to go to the doctor, and then ended up having to do a bunch of errands that day. So I set the goals really high. I reached 2 of them because I did have my T3 hangs, and I did reach the YouTube shorts. I was very close with the other ones. So I still average over 4 videos a week, which is, I probably haven't done that in a month since 2022. And the YouTube shorts are really the big thing. If you've been seeing my YouTube shorts, thank you so much for watching them. I really appreciate that. YouTube shorts is something that I really just stopped doing. I don't even know why. The more I think back to why I stopped doing shorts, I don't know exactly what it is. I think it was just I kind of like over pushed myself with making content and watching myself, and I kind of just like fell into a weird place with wanting to do shorts. I even had like a bunch of shorts that I had my old editor make and that I never released, and they're kind of getting released now. But YouTube Shorts, I think, is not only a great way to show off what I think is like the best part of what I do, which is like the cool, crazy, awesome highlights that I'm a part of because of how I play, but also it allows really interesting plays or moments from my stream to not disappear. Because on the YouTube side of things, you only get like 1 or 2 videos of actual like stream content a week. And a lot of the times those streams don't end up doing anything. And then when I wasn't doing any shorts, all those clips would just kind of be lost. And sometimes they get saved in clips. Sometimes they'd be in a random compilation video or something like that. But being able to not only preserve those clips, but put them out there has been really, really great. And I've seen some incredible success. One of the shorts that I put out has hit over 60K views, and it's climbing. It's hitting like, still doing like 10,000 views a day, which is really awesome. Like having that level of reach with my content and being able to get in front of more people is really awesome. I'm really, really proud of myself for identifying that. That's something that I need to do. Putting in the work to do a lot more. And I've also been doing some interesting things and trying some different things. Like I might just keep doing OTA shorts. I think that those are really good to go over the OTA that's not in like a long form video. That's something just some quick that people can watch. And then I did like the Shang math when I talked about the new Shang-Chi math, which I think I can actually show. I think it's at the bottom here. Yeah. So I did like this, and I made this to do, and I thought that this was a pretty cool short that I was able to put together. So I'm trying to do different things on shorts. If you see shorts that you really like, let me know down in the comments, or if there's shorts that you were annoyed by, or maybe even ideas that you have. I would love to hear that for YouTube shorts. But I'm really, really proud of myself for identifying that, working so hard. And I'm very, very happy that within this first month, I already got the immediate proof of concept of seeing some of them escalate, seeing my subscriber numbers start going in a good positive direction for the first time in a really, really long time, and just having so many people just come into streams being like, oh, I haven't been here for a while, but I saw some of your shorts and I wanted to jump in. So that's awesome. I know this is a little bit meta and just kind of talking about me and myself as a content creator, but this is something that's important to me. So if you stuck around to the end, hopefully you enjoyed chatting about this a little bit. But yeah, I'm excited to keep moving forward with this. We're definitely gonna get the 100 shorts. I really hope to get one of those big videos, and then be present with curiosity and purpose. That's probably something I need to keep working on a little bit more. It's just to try and think about that a little bit more with what I'm doing. But 2026 is the year of the Bynx. If you're here and you're watching this, you're part of it, and I super appreciate it. I hope that you've been enjoying all the expanded and better content I'm trying to bring to you here. And thank you so much for watching this episode of Bynx Bants. I super appreciate it. I have ears. Thank you for watching these videos. Let me know what you thought about my preview and my review, what you think I was right about, what you think I'm wrong about. Happy to have a discussion here, and I appreciate you. Do you hear it? It's the song. Bynx. 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 I hope you like the vibe. Bynx. Bynx. Like and subscribe. Bynx. Bynx. I hope you like the vibe. Bynx. Bynx. Like and subscribe.